I'm Tarot Oracle. This is a review, or basically a look through of the Northern Animal Tarot V2. Now, you know I have a problem with the first version. Basically, if you can get your card and you can just bend it like a piece of paper, and first verse, you just bend it, you can roll it up into a doobie. I actually rolled up the Northern Animal Tarot version 1 into a cigarette and put tobacco in it, and I had a problem with the thickness. So that was to me, that was my subjective opinion. There's a little too thin of a cardstock on the first edition. Now this is a second edition. What did they do? They enhanced the cardstock. They did several things on the second edition. Let's compare first edition, second edition. Not going to go through all the cards, but I am going to thoroughly review between the two. Now, this is the second edition of the deck. Here is the first edition box versus the second edition of the box. So you can see various changes that were done for here. Now you do have a tuck box. So, I mean, obvious issues with having any kind of tuck box. Yeah, I know, I can conclude it. I mean, a lot of people aren't going to like this review, and I'm sorry. But I had an issue with the first edition being too thin. Said it several times. Here is the first versus second edition. So you can clearly see that the thickness has been enhanced. The thickness has been improved. And we have a glossy coating on the new edition as well. Here is the bag. So this is just look like a little burlap bag that it comes with, nothing fancy or amazing like a Baba Studio bag or whatnot. This is unopened because my girlfriend bought this for me. So we have my girlfriend's version, which is the 2, versus my version, which is the 1. So I'll leave that unopened for now, and we will just do a quick comparison of only the majors. So first edition on top, second edition on bottom. You can clearly see that the thickness has indeed been enhanced, and that is a good thing. I like that. You also have a different back. This is the first edition. This is the second edition. Very, very apparent that we have evolved a little bit in the color schemes and how they look. So let's look at the first versus the second edition and do some comparisons with the majors. 4K flip through will be linked in the description and somewhere around here, most likely here. When I get the 4K flip through, it will be here. There you go. It does come with stickers before we start. The U-Line has printed some Northern Animal Tarot stickers. And my girlfriend also bought some journals. So it does come with, doesn't come, I guess you could buy journals with it. So it'll have basically blank page journals. And you can pick that up, I assume, from their site and whatnot. So you do have a couple of journals if you like the artwork that you can buy and carry around. So she ended up buying 2 of the journals, one with the Wheel of Fortune, one with the moon on it. And I do like the shiny stars, the little glittering stars that you have on the journals as well. So pretty good quality as the journals go. Now let's look at the Fool. You can obviously see. Sometimes, you can obviously see that the first version is matte and version 2 is going to be glossy, obviously, as you can tell here. Now this is a nice coating on it, but it doesn't have that gloss, and the gloss does give you a level of sheen and shine that comes with it. So if you are looking for linen finish, you're probably going to lean towards the first version. If you're looking for a more vibrant finish, you're leaning towards version 2. If you're looking for a more glossy finish, you're leaning towards version 2. So let's do a comparison that comes about to here, and then we go on the version 1, and as you can see, I mean, that comes like way up here. So you are looking at a little bit of a sturdiness comparison there. All right, so there is the difference between the Fool, and here is the Magician. Now, this is obviously more work than just putting this on a glossy finish. Putting any card on the glossy finish will enhance the contrast, will brighten up the colors some. But you can clearly tell that that is a little more work than just that. It looks like just the contrast has been jacked a little more crispy on the details, and the color has been brought up. So you do have that. There are some changes in some future cards here, but for the most part, this looks like just a standard change. I mean, obviously you have the lemniscate being from here to there. I mean, there's some obvious updates, changes, reflections of, this is version 2. Let me enhance it at least a little bit. High Priestess, you can see, has been greatly enhanced. You're looking at from a dark blue to a bright blue. You're also looking at from no water in the background here to water in the background here, as well as, again, the crispiness being a little enhanced, the colors being brought out, the contrast, the vibrancy being upped a little bit. So gone from dark blue to light blue and things like that. So I think that we have a lot of, sort of color pop in this version versus the other one. It also looks like that either this was trimmed, this was possibly trimmed off too much. So in other words, when you print a card, they do trim off a big hunk of your image if you're borderless. They trim off a good hunk of your image. And that's because when it cuts, the machine cuts, you need some space for it to cut. So before you print the card, you need to have a lot of extra image in the sides or it will get hammered and cut off. And it looks like that's a significant bringing in of the image. So it looks like not only did the author, in my opinion, again, my subjective opinion, it looks like the author now realizes how much of the card was going to get cut off, and they brought the image in a little bit so you could have more of the image. In other words, this could have been an unexpected cutting of the card to where it was too much cutting, and now they realized their mistakes and they brought it in. So it seems the vibrancy was not there in the first version, now it is. The cards seem to be brought in a little bit to get more of the detail that could have been unexpectedly cut off. My opinion, and they enhanced it by adding some graphics. So it appears that they had, the first version had some mistakes. The first version seems to have had some mistakes made. And the second version seems to be, we learned from those mistakes, let us do it properly the second time. Now, just again, my opinion on this. And you can sort of see the Empress, just vibrancy is a little bit better. The color is a little more of a pop on the Empress. The Emperor, again, we have a little more pop in the reds. The reds seem to be a little more, sort of out there. Again, if you're just in love with linen finish, you're obviously going to like this better. And that said, my girlfriend likes this one better because of the linen finish. So there is a market for both versions. I'm not saying this version is significantly better, get it. I'm saying there is a market for both versions. Maybe you like a little bit of matte. Maybe you like the linen. Maybe you just don't care that you can roll the card up into a doobie. It doesn't matter to you. You just want the linen finish. You just want, the card as is. Now, obviously, there's a darkening that happened over there. You have the same kind of action lines. You have the same kind of the trim lines with this one as the previous one. And then we have the Hierophant. The Hierophant looks a little more pop. It looks a little better. Interesting, to say the least. And then we have the Lovers. The Lovers has a little more pop. Nothing significant here. It's not like some of the other cards where significant changes happen. Of course, we brought up the blues. We brought up the vibrancy, maybe the contrast, whatnot. A little more crispy on the blacks as well for that. Now we have the Chariot. The Chariot, again, you can kind of see that we have sort of more of a trim, or the movement, or the card was moved a little bit. So you have a little more room here, a little less room here. So you have this double tree. The smaller tree exists on the first version, but not the second version. you do have more of a darkening up top as well. And I think the darkening is good up top. If you are going to have some snow, that does make the snow pop a little more. You have, again, some vibrancy enhanced here. And overall, it's just like the blues are more blue. The greens are more green. You have just more of a feel of the card being in the wintertime kind of thing from that. Strength, everyone's favorite card. So again, you do have a little bit of editing here. They brought it in a little bit. There's less of a distance between the edges here. So they just moved it up a little bit just to bring in the image or make the image a little bit larger and more prominent. So you can see the distance between the text and the wolf's butt is a little bit less. They brought in the image a little bit. Let's go for the Hermit. The Hermit is pretty drastic of a difference here, I gotta say. This is pretty drastic of a difference. Not only did we boost the contrast, boost the vibrancy, but we have a lot more, again, a lot more crispy blacks. Everything just looks better from the new version versus the old version. So this is clearly not something where we made it glossy and therefore the colors pop more. This was redone. It looks a lot redone. Now we have the Wheel of Fortune, which looks pretty similar, but again, the color boost is there. The color boost is there. Here we have the Justice, which again looks very, very similar to the old one. Let's go through here and go to the next card. Again, we're only doing the majors. 4K flip through will be available at the end, and a link in the description, and a link up here somewhere. Hanged Beast. This is another one where the colors are really brought out. I mean, that's very desaturated, and that is more saturated. So it looks like the saturation boost is there. It just looks a little bit better. And again, we just kind of shifted the image around a little bit. So there's a little bit of shifting of the image. In other words, the distance between this object and the number, and the distance between that and the number has been adjusted, has been shifted a little bit. So it seems like just the characters are a little bit more vibrant. You do have a purple here where is more of a gray. You'd have a gray versus a brown here. So it's a very desaturated, dark cards. The Hermit, very desaturated. The Hanged Beast, very desaturated. Now we're adding a lot of that back. And I like that. I like that. So, you know, it's pie versus cake. Which one do you prefer kind of thing? A lot of people may prefer this. I just prefer more saturated card. I think it's more vibrant, it looks better, and overall I just like it a little bit better. Obviously, Death, they added some color into the flowers instead of just being like that. We have more of a sheen on the web. So they added like a sheen to the web. So you can see that glimmer, the light, it sort of enhanced it more to where it draws our eye out. And I think that's a good thing as well. So overall, I think this looks a lot better. More care was taken into it. We have more of a green versus a desaturated green, and it just looks better in my opinion. Temperance card, we have the same kind of thing. We have a little more yellow in the sun instead of the action lines, sort of indicating a sunshine. They've replaced it with an actual sunshine. So I think that looks a little bit better in regards to that. Overall, everything else looks pretty similar. The distance between objects looks pretty similar. Overall, it just looks like it's just kind of redone. Like, what can we do to make it a little bit better? And I guess that's par for the course for version 2. The Devil just looks more saturated to me. I mean, you are looking at just more of a saturation. Doesn't look like significant changes otherwise, but just my opinion. And the Tower as well. So you can see that they brought in the Tower a little bit. So they just brought in the Tower. They moved it up a little bit. You can see the lightning here has an extra point, but this one does not. So they just moved this image in a little bit. just to give it more of a bump, to give it more of a bump. Either that or, again, the trim was unexpected or a little too much or what have you. But anyway, it just looks more vibrant. You have a desaturated gray that's turned into a brown. You have a desaturated sort of a tree that's turned in there. You have the lighting, the glow was definitely sort of enhanced and added a little bit more of that. The flame looks a little bit bigger. It just looked like part of it is just brought out, enhanced, and moved out to a location that, you know, is a little bit better. Now we have the star. Again, we have sort of a bigger star. So the star is a little bit larger. Here it's kind of small, here it's kind of big. We have a little bit more of a glow in here. I think that's kind of important. And we also have sort of more green, you know, sort of more of a more of a greenish blue kind of viridian look here. The stars are just a little bit better. The stars are zoomed in, so you can see there's less stars here than here. So you just have less stars, but more of an effect. You have a completely, looks like a redone star itself for the card. Now the moon looks similar. Not really seeing anything. I mean, you obviously have more of a viridian green, enhanced the contrast. The glow is more prominent. I think the glow is less yellow and just more prominent and just more white. So it's like, yes, less yellow on the new version than the old version, and more contrast, more pop in general for that. The sun looks like they just reprinted it. It just looks like a reprint. It looks like a reprint, a little bit more vibrant because of the shine, because of the gloss. Judgment, you know, obviously the glow has been grown, a bigger glow here than the old card, and that does sort of reach out to the butterfly. So the glow reaches out more to the butterfly. So yeah, it looks similar, but, you know. And then finally, again, we're only going through the majors. 4K flip-throughs available for you to look at later. The world. You have two versions of the world. This is obviously apples and oranges. I apologize for that. But you do have two versions of that. But, you know, overall, I think it's pretty good to have multiple versions. And the deck does come with a lot of extra cards, which I always like. Like, if you're going to give me a deck, I love having a few extra cards. So you do have extra. This is from version 1. Obviously, version 2's extra cards are more vibrant. They're more pretty. They just look better overall. So that is just a look at version 1 versus version 2. What was enhanced? What was enhanced? What was made better? Again, standard tuck box like you got before. Hopefully the new tuck box lasts a little bit better than the old tuck box. But let me know what you think about version 1 versus version 2. Like, what do you prefer? Do you prefer linen finish? You're like, I don't mind if it's thinner. I like it because it shuffles better. I mean, some people are just like that, right? I don't mind if it's thinner. I like it because it shuffles better. If it's a little thicker, it doesn't shuffle as good. I like linen finish because it feels better in the hand, which I like linen finish. I just think that I would have preferred a linen finish with all of the color corrections already made. And this goes back to sort of something that I preach a lot, and I'm sorry if I'm a little too over the top, but you have to tweak your card to be the best that it can be before it goes out the door. So your version 1 should just be magnificent. I shouldn't have to buy a version 2. I shouldn't have to buy now a version 3 in order to get a good vibrancy, a prettier card than what I had before. But again, this was a gift. The second version was a gift to me. I would have not bought it, but thank you very much, Christina, for the gift. So that is the Northern Animal version 2. What do you think? Where do you lean? on either one of these cards. Let me know. Thank you for watching. Hit like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next video.